Good morning. This is Rod Martin from Grace Hall in beautiful Destin, Florida. Normally, every Lord's Day, I publish something pertaining to the Lord or to His church. But the president just put our ox in the ditch. So let's talk Iran. First, the airstrikes. Uh, it was just a brilliant operation. Only the U.S. could have pulled it off. Only the U.S. has the equipment to pull it off. And certainly only the U.S. has the teams who could execute so brilliantly. We didn't lose a plane, but Iran lost its most important nuclear sites at Fordo, at Isfahan, and at Natanz. Total destroyed, says the president. And we have every reason to believe he is accurate. If he isn't accurate, there will be more strikes and they will be totally destroyed. So fear you not that. Second, the complete and total operational security is just extraordinary. There were no leaks. There were no hints, except the president's hints, which obviously his opponents are incapable of reading. And it was just a brilliant moment, especially for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who just carried out an incredible operation on the home front. And of course, General Eric Kurilla, who is the CENTCOM commander in the field. We wrote about him back on Friday. Third, the brilliant misdirection. It's not just that we kept this completely secure, which, by the way, happened in part because the Trump administration briefed congressional leaders who were Republicans but not Democrats. So we got no leaks from the anti American crew on the Hill. But the misdirection goes far beyond that. The rift with Netanyahu we heard about for weeks. Are you kidding? I told you then. There isn't one. This is for show. The Middle East trip. Trump has snubbed Netanyahu. He didn't go to Jerusalem. Well, duh, he didn't go to Jerusalem. This is what he was aiming at. The Day 61 tweet. He actually put out there last Friday that he had given Iran 60 days to make a deal. And on day 61, Israel's airstrikes are the consequence of not doing so. He couldn't have telegraphed it any more plainly that this was completely coordinated. Then the 2 weeks thing. Everybody in the media seized on this with their little taco epithet. Trump always chickens out. Are you guys high? I mean, this is just stupid. 2 weeks. He didn't say he was giving Iran 2 weeks. He said he would make a decision within the next 2 weeks. That might very well have been within the next 2 minutes or the next 8 days. Everybody read this wrong except me, and I told you so. So there you go. Finally, the B-2s to Guam yesterday. Everybody's looking west. Everybody thinks that even if Trump acts quickly, they have more time. Wrong. The Guam operation is partly misdirection to throw Iran off. It's partly a warning to China not to try anything while we're engaged in the Middle East. Meanwhile, Trump had plenty of equipment in theater to be able to carry out whatever needed doing in Iran. Fourth, the speech. I hope you saw it last night. It was brief, but it was very much to the point. First and foremost, the president told us that the sites are totally destroyed. Now, it's perfectly possible he could be wrong, but we actually have really good intelligence that is designed to find out exactly that. And I don't doubt he's correct. Again, if he isn't correct, there are just going to be more strikes. Those sites are gone. The bigger problem for Iran is that there are a lot more sites that could be attacked that are much easier to reach, much simpler to destroy. The Israelis have taken out a lot of them. We can easily finish that from the air. On Netanyahu, this was crucial in the speech last night. Trump said that He and Bibi Netanyahu, whom he thanked, had worked more closely together on ending Iran's nuclear program than any team in history. Go back and look at it for yourself. It was really quite remarkable. Again, my thesis bears out. We've been telling you from the beginning, this has been a Trump op all the way. Trump's critics, especially those on the right, claim he's been lied to by the intelligence community or manipulated by Netanyahu. But that's never been true. This has been Trump's show in every detail, both the Israeli details and the US details from the beginning. And just to be clear, those of you who are worried about the intelligence community lying to him, that wasn't the triggering event. I told you then, and I'll tell you now. The triggering event was when Iran kicked the IAEA inspectors out of its nuclear sites, which is required to allow in under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and signaled its intention to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Folks, there's no reason to do that unless you're about to go nuclear. None. And that was all Donald Trump needed. He's got plenty of other intel, but that's what pushed it over the edge. It didn't have anything to do with Israel or intelligence services you don't trust. None of that was relevant. Now, why isn't this World War III? Because that's what everybody on X would have you believe. The answer is actually pretty simple, though I'm going to go into a good bit of detail here. Who exactly cares to defend Iran? Nobody. Nobody. And if you don't believe it, ask yourself why nobody has defended Iran in the last week. It's simply absurd. So let's just walk through this. First and foremost, Trump didn't start anything, though he may have just helped finish it. Iran declared war on us in 1979. I was 10 when the Ayatollah declared war on the United States and on Israel. We just normally choose to ignore it, which is the luxury of being a superpower half the world away. Iran has been pursuing that war intermittently ever since, but it hasn't been intermittent against Israel. It's been daily against them. In recent years, that war has been funded by Obama and Biden with their pallets of cash and with their removal of the maximum pressure sanctions. Your tax dollars at work to pay for Jewish schoolgirls to get bombed in their school buses. Thank you, thank you, Joe. These are terrible, terrible evils that our country has done that Trump has just ended. There's nothing Iran can do to us today that it hasn't already done off and on for decades. Two, and it can do a lot less than ever before. Iran lost all its proxies in the last 2 years. Iran was perfectly happy to sacrifice Hamas on October 7, 2023 for the purpose of blowing up not Israel, but the Israeli-Saudi Arabian peace talks. Saudi Arabia was on the brink of joining the Abraham Accords and forming a little more formal version of their de facto alliance, and Iran couldn't tolerate it. So they sacrificed Hamas, and Hamas was willing to go because these are people who are absolutely willing to strap on suicide vests and blow themselves up. But Iran doesn't love them. Iran hates them. They're Sunnis. Iran is Shia. They absolutely can't stand these people. And these people are coming to know that. Moreover, Hezbollah destroyed. Iran had set them up as a military force on Israel's northern border for decades, gave them 100,000, maybe 150,000 missiles. Most of these are just little short range things, but you don't want to get hit by one. And, armed them, equipped them, funded them with Obama's pallets of cash. They're gone. Israel rolled them up while rolling up Hamas. Literally put bombs in their pagers and cell phones and blew up the leadership like they're blowing up the Iranian leadership now. There's nobody. Syria, they were effectively an Iranian colony for the last several decades in conjunction with the Russians. Now that regime is gone, and the new leader of that regime actually publicly offered Israel Syria's airspace to shoot down Iranian drones. The Gulf states are rejoicing. It doesn't matter what they say in public. They're letting Israel use their airspace, letting Israel do anything it wants. No one is more afraid of Iran than Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Bahrain. So, who in region is going to come to their aid? Then you get to China and Russia. These are the big scare stories. Well, okay, I don't know who actually thinks China has the ability to project power into the Middle East in any meaningful way that could challenge the United States, because that's just a fantasy. Russia, the same. Russia was supposedly able to threaten all of NATO and march to Berlin. Russia can't get to Kiev after 3 years. They are no threat to us in the Persian Gulf. It's just absurd. Yeah, well, but China has all these interests with Iran. Well, do they? Because China only gets 16% of its oil from Iran, but Iran sells 90% of its oil to China. China is very vulnerable to Trump's secondary sanctions on even that. And, Trump has held off because of the trade talks, but he could slam the door shut on China in a way that the entire alliance would cooperate with. So now all of a sudden, China is cut off not just from the US market, but the European markets as well. They're not interested in that. That's really dumb. And they don't really have a dog in this fight. Russia, same thing. Russia buys drones from Iran, but Russia doesn't really help Iran. Let me just ask you this. Why is it that if Iran is such a great ally of China and Russia, those two countries have been completely unwilling to sell them any modern fighter jets at all? Iran is flying, well, it was flying. It's not flying anything right now, but they've been flying 70s and even 60s era junk. They've been flying F4s. That was our main fighter in the Vietnam War. They've been flying the F7, which is a Chinese modification of the MiG-21, which is, again, North Vietnam's main fighter during the war. They've been flying F-14s. Well, that was an amazing plane in 1976 or even 1986, but we haven't sold them any spare parts for it since 1978. So do the math. China and Russia don't want them to have modern equipment. And the S-300s and S-400s, the air defense systems the Russians sold them, were junk, as evidenced by the fact that the Israelis took 100% of them out without losing a single Israeli plane. Just extraordinary. Not at all what people thought. And by the way, if you don't think that this war is a huge nightmare for the Russian arms industry, you're just not paying attention. No one's going to want to buy Russian junk after this. And that's their most important export other than energy. So go General Dynamics and Boeing, because you guys just won. Both China and Russia's alliances with Iran, if you can call them that, fail to include any agreement to come to the other's defense. They never intended to help Iran. They intended to use Iran as a provocateur and as a distraction to keep America off their backs. That's the extent of it, and they are not sticking their necks out for Iran. Look at what they do, not what they say. Neither China nor Russia has any meaningful capacity to come to Iran's aid. They also have no desire. In fact, Putin responded to a question about why they haven't come to Iran's aid already by saying, there are 2 million Israelis of Russian descent. Israel is almost a Russian-speaking country. We take that into account. Boom. Everyone else in region has been privately cheering Israel. I don't understand how anyone thinks that it becomes a regional war. It's certainly not going to become a general war. A friend of mine who's in a position such that he ought to know better actually suggested that Pakistan might sell Iran the bomb because they said something vaguely supportive of, of Iran the other day. I asked him, then why haven't they sold Iran the bomb in all this time since they got it in 1998? And why would Iran have gone to all the expense and effort to create a bomb if Pakistan was willing to hand it to them for cash? It's just nonsense. It's just not true. And of course, you saw what Pakistan's really doing. Watch what they do, not what they say. The Pakistani defense minister goes to the White House for a rare visit with the president of the United States. And yesterday, they actually nominated Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. No, they're not supporting Iran. Iran is alone. They may very well have sleeper cells here. Biden opened the border for 4 years, and there's no telling who came in. They may try to close the Straits of Hormuz, in which case we'll just sink every single ship in their entire navy. Stuff might happen, but it will not be World War III. One last thing from Trump's speech last night. The slightly awkward but obviously sincere, "We love you, God." Donald Trump is a changed man since the assassination attempt in Butler. It was a really, really neat moment. And we do love you, God. Now, I'm about ready to go get ready for church. I hope you will too.